Talk about the whole house heat loss and gain worksheet. So I want you to think about this worksheet as in heat loss and gain. What this worksheet is talking about, or is going to help us understand, is that homes or buildings have heat gain or heat losses. So how does a home gain heat? Anytime we have a temperature difference, we are going to have heat transfer. Whether the heat is leaving the home or the heat is entering the home, anytime there is a temperature difference, we are going to have heat transfer. So heat transfer will take place in the summertime and heat transfer will take place in the wintertime. Realistically, heat transfer is taking place all the time because there will always be a temperature difference throughout the whole year. But the highest temperature difference will be in the summer and in the winter. So in the summertime, we have really high temperatures, especially in Kern County. We're in the triple digits. And inside the home, we like to keep them about 75 degrees. So we're looking at about a 30 degree to 35 degree temperature difference. So think about that. There's 35 degrees of temperature difference from in the summertime from outside the home and inside the home. So what's happening there when you have two temperature differences is you're going to have heat transfer taking place. So we have to consider that in that home, that temperature difference. And where is that going to change? Well, different areas in our country and in the world, really, there's going to be different temperature differences from outside the home to inside the home. New York City, for instance, in the wintertime, it gets about, I think, 3 or 13 degrees in the winter. 13 degrees in the winter, which is pretty darn cold. We will never see that here. Hopefully in Kern County, we get about 33 degrees, 32 degrees in the winter. So there's a big difference. And what does that mean, the difference? There's a bigger heat transfer or heat difference, temperature difference from New York City in the winter to Bakersfield in the winter. So we design our buildings differently. So this chart or this worksheet really helps us understand wherever that home is located, the design conditions, we have to take that into consideration. That's a must. When you're trying to figure out the size of that unit you want for your home, you have to consider the design conditions. The other things we're going to look at in this worksheet are the windows and doors. Why are windows and doors important? Because windows can be a place where we lose heat and gain heat as well. Some windows only have one single glass. Some newer homes have a double pane or double glass. And some energy efficient homes have triple pane or triple glass in the windows. Now, the more glass you have in your windows, the more energy efficient those windows will be in the winter and in the summer. So we take that into consideration when we are trying to design an AC or heating unit for our home. We're going to figure that out in this worksheet as well. Doors are another place where we're going to gain heat or lose heat in the home. So all these different places will be factors for heat gain and heat losses in the home. This worksheet looks at the size of the home. If you look at this section over here where it says gross walls, the windows and doors, net walls, the ceiling, square feet, the floor, square feet. So we put all that information here on the home. And here we put the people, how many people are going to be in the home. We assume 2 per bedroom. We're going to go over this worksheet in greater detail. And so there are different numbers we're going to put because every home has a different size. So as we measure the home, we'll figure out, as we add all that information here, the different BTU losses and the BTU gains. So if you look at this bottom chart here, this heating section is going to help us calculate how much heat we're going to be losing out of the home. And so if we're losing that much heat out of the home, that's how much heat we need to put back in the home to heat up the home in the wintertime. Because in the wintertime, we lose heat. Because If we remember the first law of thermodynamics, heat is always moving from a warmer place to a cooler place. That is just the law that's taking place all the time. Anytime there's a heat difference, heat will always move from a warmer place to a cooler place. So once we calculate everything for heat loss, we're going to try to, once we lose that heat, now we need to size heating equipment to replace that heat in that home. Once we figure out heat gain, all the heat we're gaining in the summertime over here in this section, now we can figure out, okay, we need this much cooling capacity in BTUs, the British thermal unit, to take out of the home. Because if we're gaining heat in the home in the summer, we want to remove that heat in the summer. So we need an air conditioning unit that's going to remove the heat based on how much heat we're gaining in that home. So this is the whole house heat loss gain worksheet paper we're going to be going over in class. I just wanted to do this video to kind of give you just an overview of the different sections we're going to be covering. I'm going to go over each section in more detail in other videos, but this is just a basic layout and just a summary of this worksheet. If you have any questions, make sure you email me or ask me in class, and then we can go over anything you have going on in your mind that you're like, well, I don't really understand that. We can go over it again in class. Hopefully this video helps you out in understanding this worksheet, why it's important. But we'll talk about it more in class later on. All right, guys. Talk to you later.